Chapter 51 The Real Murderer Was Caught. Indescribable Impact. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Chapter 51 The Real Murderer Was Caught. Indescribable Impact. At the same time, Donmu is also frantically analyzing the current situation. Taiwan Novel Network. What's going on? Wasn't this woman named Zhao Xiaoya fabricated by Su Chen to use as a smoke bomb to divert the attention of the experts? Yeah, why did the expert team really arrest such a person? Also, listening to that woman's tone, I always think she is weird. I thought she was Su Chen's innocent victim. Have you been affected by the show? No one looks like a good person, right? I think there is nothing wrong with this person. I just don't understand why Su Chen asked the expert team to arrest such a person. Is it just misleading? And outside the door of the expert panel's office, Cui Liwan listened quietly to Wang Yanqing's subsequent description, after his appraisal of the diary, whether it was the degree of oxidation of the paper or the degree of staining of the writing, he could confirm that it was not a forgery, it is a diary from 20 years ago. And the murder case recorded above is so detailed that it doesn't seem like a random act of obscenity. More importantly, this case sounds a lot like, Wang Yanqing's voice was not loud, but to Cui Liwan's ears, it was no less than a thunder. The appearance of this diary is likely to indicate an old murder case. Cui Liwan, a veteran criminal investigator, also realized at this moment that the conversation they had just had with the woman named Zhao Xiaoya was basically everyone talking about their own things. What that woman admitted to was not the fictitious charges. Among them, there are hidden secrets unknown to the expert team. Realizing this, Cui Liwan's heart moved. He hung up the phone, immediately walked into the office and sat in front of Zhao Xiaoya. And silently turned on the police recording device. He decided to deceive her, so he showed the confidence that he had obtained a lot of information and said to the woman, "Ms. Zhao, don't you regret it? According to the laws of the Dragon Kingdom, if you kill someone, you have to pay with your life." And the moment I heard this, Zhao Xiaoya's expression returned to its previous contempt and coldness. There is nothing to hide. I accept the death penalty. After all, I am just a poor copycat, and you will never catch the real hunter. She approached the panel of experts defiantly. I told you that I was responsible for the dismemberment case at Jinling University. Boom. Every word of this sentence seems to be a heavy blow hitting the hearts of the experts. The corpse dismemberment case at Jinling University is one of the top 10 unsolved cases in the Dragon Kingdom, a mystery that has not been solved for 20 years, but now, there was a woman who was suspected of being the murderer. In front of them, she personally admitted that she was responsible for the case. The members of the expert team originally arrested her according to the simulated murderer in the murder live broadcast. You. Qin Ming stood up suddenly and pointed at the calm woman in front of him, with a look of shock on his face, and he was speechless for a moment. From the guest on the show to the real murderer of the unsolved case, this change is so great that it is difficult for people to doubt that they heard it wrong. Next to Qin Ming, Bai Su looked at Zhao Xiaoya with sharp eyes, saying nothing, but his expression became more and more serious. Change the place. Old Detective Cui Liwan waved his hand. Two tall and strong frontline criminal investigators rushed out from behind. They moved quickly and cut off Zhao Xiaoya's hands behind her back and shackled them. The two of them held the petite woman on the left and right, but did not dare to neglect. They held her tightly and walked towards the interrogation room. The police officers present had their hearts beating rapidly and found it difficult to breathe. As for the live broadcast room that is always live broadcasting, the number of barrages has exploded at this moment, almost bursting the screen. Holy shit, what's going on? Young man, did I hear that right? This woman personally admitted that she was responsible for the corpse dismemberment case at Jinling University. Could it be that a 20-year-old unsolved case was just solved? It feels like a dream. I do feel that there may be something hidden in this. At this moment, a barrage appeared, causing all the viewers behind the screen to break out in a cold sweat. Hiss, have you ever thought about how this murderer fell into the hands of the police? Fuck, when you say that, it seems like Su Chen pretended to be Duan Yu and gave orders, so the experts went to arrest this person. Holy shit, I'm getting goosebumps. Could it be that Su Chen has already deduced that this woman is the murderer? That must be the case. Or could it be that he just said the name of the murderer casually? Even to death I won't believe this is a coincidence. It's so terrifying. This person is so terrifying. From the perspective of God, I didn't even discover his ultimate goal. It turns out that Su Chen did not want to lead a team of experts to review the case, his purpose was to solve the case. My girlfriend laughed at why I was kneeling and looking at my phone. I went up and slapped her, and pulled her to kneel and look at it together, worshipping God. Su. Brothers, am I doing the right thing? It's pretty good, but it's a bit expensive for my girlfriend. The popularity of the live broadcast of chasing the murderer has skyrocketed again at this moment. In just 10 minutes, it has already reached 90 million online views. 90 million, this is an unprecedented height for Dragon Kingdom variety shows, and it has reached the ceiling of the number of viewers for this population. Previously, no program could achieve this result. Backstage of the Murder Live program, Chief Director Chen Qiming, Cherry Blossom Country National Treasure Director Minamino Takashi, and best-selling author Aoyama Okamesa stood facing the screen as if they were petrified, almost stopped thinking. Chen Jun. Minamino Takashi pointed at the screen tremblingly, unable to stand firmly. As a famous director, how could he not know about the top 10 unsolved cases in Dragon Kingdom? How could such a heavyweight case be solved in a variety show? Is this a script from your program team? Minano Takashi asked, although it was nonsense, he really couldn't think of any other way to ask. No. Seeing that such a huge hat was about to be taken off, Chen Qiming was already resisting with his whole life. Who has ever seen this kind of script before? He was so anxious that he took a breath and his face turned red. He quickly took out a quick-acting antihypertensive pill from his pocket, raised his head and drank it with water, and then gradually improved. Our program is completely random and everyone is free to move around. If this woman is really the murderer, it means that this unsolved case has been solved. Although I have vaguely guessed it, but after hearing Chen Qiming's words, Nani Wu and Lanshan Gangchang were still caught off guard and their blood surged. Mr. Chen, do you still have some medicine? Help me. Give me a piece too. The backstage staff were so frightened that they almost called an ambulance. If something happens to these three heavyweights, who can explain it clearly? Two directors who have watched countless movies, and a novelist who is proficient in plot creation, were stunned by the plot of a free variety show. Who would believe this? However, they were really shocked by this variety show. To be precise, the simulated murderer Su Chen was shocked. 5 minutes later, the three of them calmed down a little. Nan Yewu held Chen Qiming's hand tightly. If this variety show cannot be introduced to Sakura country, it will be a regret in my life. And just at this moment, the door to the backstage studio suddenly opened. Several men in black from the program team walked in with Duanyu. Duanyu is smiling. He is in a good mood now, because just now in the car, he continued to use the computer to crack the program of the hacker master, and had already broken through the last layer of information protection network. As long as he traces it further, he can find the murderer's ID and locate it. Although he had finished filming the show, the information he obtained could not be provided to the panel. However, in this game, he saw hope of victory. Duanyu strode up to Chen Qiming and others, just about to say hello politely, but suddenly I found that the faces of these people were not very good. It was as if he had suffered a catastrophe and had to survive. Chapter 52. You all are playing me, right? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 52. You are all playing me, right? Perhaps, even these backstage staff did not expect that an expert would be eliminated early tonight. Duanyu thought secretly, with such a big accident in the program, it is no wonder that Chen Qiming, the chief director, felt nervous. Duanyu put the computer running the program on the table, and then waved to the chief director in front of the big screen. Director Chen. After saying this, Chen Qiming paused slightly, then he turned his head, as if he had just noticed Duanyu, and smiled at him reluctantly. Officer Duan, thank you for your hard work. It's not a big deal, but I still feel a little bit helpless in my heart. After all, I was eliminated by the murderer. Duan Yu smiled self-deprecatingly, and then his eyes suddenly fixed on the big screen. What was shown on it was Su Chen's live broadcast room. Yes, it's him. This person is also quite capable. He can lurk in the police station for so long, and his ability to adapt to changes is also good. Duan Yu gave a very positive evaluation. Hearing this, Chen Qiming nodded his head in a hurry, indicating that he agreed very much, and he couldn't agree more. He didn't have any ability, he was too capable, he shouldn't live on this planet. Director Chen still chose the right person. Duan Yu sighed and gave Chen Qiming a thumbs up. He was convinced by the choice of the murderer this time, and the other party was also very cunning. Su Chen was obviously the one who blew up the power distribution center of the monitoring system. It was a case of using violence against him as an information expert, using hacker technology to deal with the police chief. The main point was a differentiated competition. I don't deserve it. Chen Qiming waved his hands repeatedly, without any intention of asking for credit or reward. If possible, he would rather use a loudspeaker to clarify this matter to the people of the whole country. His performance and Su Chen's performance really had nothing to do with each other. There was once an opportunity in front of him, but he didn't cherish it, and now he regrets it. If possible, he hopes that he and Su Chen will not have any intersection, which is easy to shorten his life. If he had to add a deadline, he hoped it would be 10,000 years. After several awkward polite exchanges between Duan Yu and Chen Qiming, he finally brought the topic back to the right track, approached Chen Qiming, and asked the question he wanted to know the most. Director Chen, I came here with only one thing in mind. Duan Yu restrained his expression and said word by word. I just want to know how many people are there in the criminal gang opposite, and who is the hacker master. How many people? Chen Qiming was stunned. One is not enough for me. While speaking, Director Chen pointed to the big screen and said bitterly. Officer Duan, you also saw it, it's him. I know it was him who kicked me out. Duan Yu waved his hand. I want to know the whole picture. No, that's what I mean. Chen Qiming explained to Duan Yu. In this episode of our live broadcast of Chasing Murderers, there has always been only one simulated murderer. Silence. After Chen Qiming finished speaking, the entire backstage studio fell into an eerie silence. Officer Duan's face changed color visibly. Duan Yu, did he blow up the power distribution center? Chen Qiming nodded. Yes, it was him. Duan Yu pointed to the computer. The director's mobile phone. Did he hack it? Chen Qiming nodded. It was him too. Duan Yu couldn't believe it. Did he kidnap that girl? Did he also put the poker in the corpse? Chen Qiming nodded vigorously. He did it all. He did a lot of other things, you didn't notice. Do you know who he just caught? The air suddenly became quiet again. For a long time, Chen Qiming didn't hear Duan Yu's reply. He turned his head and found that Duan Yu was curiously looking around in the studio, as if looking for something. Officer Duan, what are you doing? Ha ha ha. Duan Yu laughed, full of confidence. Looking for hidden cameras. Your program team is so mean. Did you prepare a prank for me? Are you deliberately provoking me to see my reaction? I've also watched a lot of variety shows. I understand these routines, the show effect. Where is the camera? Why can't I see it? Is it a pinhole? Or the eye in the sky? Chen Qiming and the people around him looked at each other. In the live broadcast room of the murderer's live broadcast, the barrage had already burst into laughter. In fact, he knows everything, but he just doesn't want to face it. I'm really crying. Officer Duan is so miserable. He was turned into a funny guy by Su Chen. He is the world's top information expert. 3 seconds of silence. I hope Officer Duan can survive after learning the truth. Su Chen did so many things in just one night, a true model worker. This show is so good, I can't sleep. I have to go to work tomorrow. What should I do? Brother, isn't tomorrow Sunday? Why are you still working? You guys are resting on Sunday, and I am the only 007. In the backstage studio of the live broadcast of The Pursuit of the Murderer, watching Duan Yu constantly looking for the camera, Chen Qiming and several staff members really couldn't bear it anymore. They stepped forward, held Duan Yu's hand, and said dryly. Officer Duan, stop looking. it's really not fake. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Duan Yu raised his hand and retreated behind the table, facing Chen Qiming and others, with a sharp look on his face. Well, I'll ask you one last question. If Su Chen is really the hacker, how did he hack into the director's phone? And how did he defend against my subsequent attacks? Can you tell me? Hearing this, Chen Qiming's expression suddenly froze. It's not that he didn't know what Su Chen was doing at the time, but how could he say it? Officer Duan, we all saw that Su Chen was playing the Legend game at that time. I guess he was hacking while playing Legend, a staff member next to Chen Qiming said first. Ha 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 ha. Hearing this, Duan Yu laughed even louder. It seemed like he had heard a big joke. Don't be so ridiculous. He wiped the tears from his eyes. I know this is a variety show. Anyone can be an actor. Director Chen, you are here to guest star, right? And the staff here, you all know the truth. You are all actors, you must be playing me. Wait, Duan Yu said, suddenly as if he thought of something, he moved his expression, quickly retreated behind the table, pulled over the computer, and his fingers clattered on the keyboard. At the same time, the code on the page spread rapidly, like a waterfall falling. Duan Yu was frantically cracking the last search path, while muttering. You can play me, but data can't, information can't. Wait, I will return to the ID address of the hacker's computer through the path now, and locate it directly. I must see him today, I said. He muttered while carrying out the final disassembly. All the information walls had been broken at this time, and there was no more obstacle in front of him, so Duan Yu's speed became faster and faster. 10 seconds later, 30 seconds later, finally, he took a long breath, and with a click, he hit the last enter key. Done. At the same time, on the computer screen, countless web page windows instantly unfolded, which was the program automatically tracing the path. These windows were turned on and off, and finally, they were restored to the largest window, occupying the entire screen. Looking at the scene in front of him, Duan Yu's face showed an extremely expectant look, and he was almost reluctant to blink. Because he finally tracked down the hacker master who made him dream. As the large window burst into brilliant colors, then, a few big words appeared: legendary web game. Start with a godlike outfit, and give a top-level paralysis ring when killing a pig. Wow. The explosion rate is really high. More than 10 million people are online every day. If you are a brother, come and hack me. True legend, your only choice, Duan Yu. Looking at these lines of big words, Duan Yu's eyes twitched, then, his body tilted and he fell off the chair. Officer Duan. Officer Duan, are you okay? Quick, Lao Chen, pinch his nose. Chapter 53 Surveillance Restored. Su Chen's Final Gift. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 53 Monitoring Resumes. Su Chen's Last Gift. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Half an hour later. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. In the backstage studio of Chasing the Murderer Live, Officer Duan was sitting on a chair, covered with a blanket, holding a cup of hot water in his hand, steaming white. I'm so stupid, really. He murmured. I should have discovered a long time ago that Su Chen's information walls were just a deception. In fact, the obvious tracking path was deliberately set up on the web page. The real ID path is hidden under the tracking path and encrypted. He even programmed a legendary cheating device while hacking into the director's cell phone, which helped his union win the top 3 in the district. Although after he left, the union was reported by the Bombing Sky Gang. Duan Yu kept talking in a low voice, obviously still not recovering from the stimulation, thinking back on everything that happened before. It was all in full view of 90 million viewers. Also, when Su Chen said, Officer Duan, what are you busy with in the expert team's office? Duan Yu felt that it was time for him to change his planet. Around, Chief Director Chen Qiming walked over lightly. Looking at Duan Yu, who was in low spirits, he sighed silently and put his hand on Duan Yu's shoulder. Officer Duan, don't get too hung up on this matter. There is still a long way to go. Duan Yu nodded and smiled reluctantly at Chen Qiming. It doesn't matter. After all, this life is not very long. Just be patient and it will pass. Chen Qiming, Duan Yu has been a child of other people since he was a child. He is recognized as a smart person. He is especially interested in information and has profound attainments. In middle school, I won many awards along the way, including the gold medal in the International Informatics Olympiad. And the gold medal in the World Cybersecurity Competition. As an adult, it can be said that his life has been almost smooth and rising. I only encountered 2 setbacks in total. The first time was 10 years ago, when I faced the defeat of the American. The second time was during the live broadcast of Chasing the Murderer. At least, in this variety show, I haven't failed at all. Duan Yu took a deep breath, stood up slowly, and walked to the big screen. My Skynet may have been restored, and the anti-Su Chen app handed over to Mr. Chui has also been completed. Although I have withdrawn, my skills can still help the expert team. As he said this, he asked Chen Qiming. Director Chen, could you please turn the screen? I want to see how the surveillance system is recovering. Chen Qiming finally cheered up when he saw Duan Yu. He nodded quickly and said, "Good." He gestured to the staff backstage. The latter immediately became busy and presented the picture of the expert group and the picture of the University City Power Distribution Center together. University Town Distribution Center. Just as Su Chen provided such an opportunity, the staff of the Power Distribution Center conducted a counterattack rehearsal. The Security Department, Monitoring Department, and Technical Department, all the constituent units, work together. There are anti-infiltration drills, there are drills to prevent dangerous goods, there is also safety education for employees, the main content of which is not to disclose the internal structure of the Power Distribution Center to strangers, and to take care of your ID cards. During a heated and busy simulated emergency repair, Director Huang Tao quickly walked to the maintenance technicians and asked, "How's it going? Can you recover?" One of the leading technicians wiped the sweat off his head and nodded. "Okay, Director, we will complete the last part of the monitoring information now, and we will get it to the expert team's office right away." When Huang Tao heard this, he was very happy. This was the best news he had heard in the past 3 hours. "Move faster, Officer Duan and the others in the expert team are still waiting," Huang Tao said. Later, he called several heavily armed security personnel from the security department and handed them the monitoring system information receiving terminal. "Go and hand this over to the expert team so they can receive the monitoring information." This time, based on the lessons learned from the last sneak attack, Huang Tao implemented sufficient protection. A large number of armed personnel were dispatched to escort the equipment to ensure nothing went wrong. At the same time, on the street in front of the Jinling City Public Security Bureau, a black police car parked quietly. Su Chen was sitting in the car, holding a phone in his hand. The call on it showed that it was by Su. "Hey, boss, it's such a big thing. The real culprit in the corpse dismemberment case was caught. Only one person was caught, and his accomplices were not found." Su Chen kept nodding his head while talking. There was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. "It's too late today, so I won't go back. Boss, please help me look at something. Is there a scar on the female suspect's neck?" Soon, Bai Sukinju's voice came from the other side of the phone. "There is indeed a, Su Chen, is this also recorded in the file?" Hearing this, Su Chen smiled, and gradually, the smile faded, and his face became extremely serious. His reasoning was not wrong. This matter was far from being as simple as he imagined. He quickly said a few words to Bai Su, and then hung up the phone. Su Chen turned his head and looked at the back seat of his car. There was a black box there. The team led by Chui Liwan had returned to the police station to deal with the criminals, and there was another team outside. He made another call to the captain of this team. "Hello, it's me, Su Chen, you guys do what I say now. Help me prepare a car, not a police car, the kind without a tracker, and fill it with gas. Come to the university town. By the way, I have something, you guys help me bring it to the expert team. I have something tonight, so I won't go there in person." Chapter 54 Video Playback, a process full of mysteries. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 54, Video Playback, a process full of mysteries. 1 o'clock in the morning, the lights of Jinling Public Security Bureau were bright. "Mr. Chui, this is the database receiving terminal that Director Huang of our Power Distribution Center entrusted me to give to Officer Duan." In the expert group office, the security personnel of the University Town Power Distribution Center held the black instrument in their hands carefully. They were afraid of dropping it and fearing leakage, just like holding a baby who had just turned 1 month old. After all, Director Huang said that they should prevent fire, theft and sneak attacks. If there was any accident during this escort, they would not have to do this job. Looking at the data terminal that came late, the experts present could not help but smile. Finally, the video can be restored. They can finally take the initiative for the first time and find the traces of the murderer. And following these security personnel, another team of police officers walked into the door of the expert group office at the same time. The leader was holding a black box in his hand. "Mr. Chui, this is what Su Chen asked us to bring to the expert team office. He didn't say what it was, just that it might be used in the future." Chui Liwan nodded to several police officers, signaling them to put the box on the table first. The experts are now focusing on the video that will be restored. As for what Su Chen provided, he was in charge of the Jinling dismemberment case, and the dismemberment case has been solved. The murderer was being questioned by the Jinling police in the back. This matter has long been out of the live broadcast of the murderer's pursuit program and has become a case trial. It is handled by the backbone of the new generation of criminal investigation. Therefore, Chui Liwan and others naturally think that the information in Su Chen's box can be read later. "I don't know where Su Chen has gone." Bai Su swiped her phone. Since Su Chen called her to confirm the scar on the neck of the real murderer, she sent him a message and there was no response. Read but not reply, or didn't read it at all. Bai Su turned off her phone, sighed, and pouted her rosy lips. For some reason, she recalled the faint fragrance she smelled from Su Chen when she last saw him. There were also some details about Su Chen, such as he seemed to have a little cleanliness like Officer Chen. These things that happen to a small police officer may not be noticed by ordinary people, but Bai Su has an innate keenness. "I have to ask Su Chen when I see him later or tomorrow," she thought to herself. There may be some secrets buried in these details. Su Chen is not an ordinary person, whether from his experience or from his performance in the expert group. Just as she was thinking, the staff of the Power Distribution Center had almost installed the equipment. It's a pity that Officer Duan is not here. This is definitely exciting news for him. Qin Ming looked at the staff and watched them connect the data terminal to the multimedia in the office, then start the computer and load the video. Logically speaking, with Duan Yu's personality, he must be the first to run over for such things. However, that guy has never appeared since he provided them with the information of the murderer. In fact, the experts present had more or less doubts about this matter. They were obviously going to catch a simulated criminal, but how did they end up catching the real murderer? How did Duan Yu know the information of the murderer? It was so strange. I always felt that every step I took was controlled by someone, and I couldn't control the results. It was like living in someone's shadow. Perhaps, catching the real murderer is part of Duan Yu's private plan. Qin Ming frowned and quickly denied this idea. This is not right. They are all members of the expert group, and it is a real case. Why does Duan Yu have to hide it from us? I really don't understand what the logical relationship is between these things. What is the relationship? Just take a look. Next to Qin Ming, Wang Yanxing, who had been silent, said lightly, "He has always had a nickname inside the police station, called Hawkeye, because he observes very carefully and processes information very quickly." Once, there were thousands of photos in front of him, and Wang Yanxing only glanced at them and found the suspect, and in that photo, there was only a reflection of the suspect in the puddle. Therefore, Wang Yanxing's concept is that seeing is believing, and the information obtained intuitively is far better than countless speculations. The equipment has been installed. Should we start it now, or wait for Officer Duan to come and see it together? The staff of the distribution center plugged in the last plug and turned to ask the experts. After all, this is Duan Yu's project. Let's start now. I don't know when Officer Duan will arrive. Chui Liwan made a decision. Okay. Several staff members were busy again. Soon, on the big screen in front of the expert group office, scenes of small camera views lit up, densely packed. like a mosaic, filling the entire screen. Then, an AI electronic sound rang. Ding. Congratulations, the Skynet system has been bound. Please intervene in facial information for easy query. This is Duanyu's Skynet system. As long as the facial information can be input, the same person can be found in these hundreds of thousands of cameras at the same time. With the support of powerful computing power and precise algorithms, this technology can increase efficiency by hundreds of times. Moreover, if the suspect's face is input into the recognition system, Skynet can also perform real-time screening in all hundreds of thousands of cameras. Once a person suspected of being the murderer is detected, his location information will be immediately reported to the expert team. It can be said to be a black technology for chasing fugitives. First, check the face of the real murderer Zhao Xiaoya to see if her recent activities can correspond to the live broadcast of the pursuit of the murderer. Cui Liwan said, as the murderer, Zhao Xiaoya's facial information has long been entered into the police system, so it is very convenient to find. Within a few seconds, the Skynet system responded, detecting. Ding. The activity area of the object is detected and the video starts playing. Accompanied by the last tail of the electronic sound, on the big screen in the office, 4 windows were opened from the densely packed camera field of view, enlarged, and occupied the entire screen. The expert's eyes immediately focused on it. However, to their disappointment, the content of these previous video playbacks was only in the community where Zhao Xiaoya lived. This woman is quite low-key, rarely goes out, and her activity range does not exceed 2 kilometers. As for the distribution center in the southern part of the university town, it is even more impossible. It is normal for a bounty criminal to stay at home, but it is not very normal. Qin Ming looked at the screen and muttered in confusion. I remember that Officer Duan went to identify the murderer, that is to say, the information about the real murderer Zhao Xiaoya should be learned from those witnesses. But, since this bounty criminal has never been to the distribution center in the southern part of the university town, how did those witnesses identify her? After this sentence was said, all the experts were silent. Although they caught the real murderer of the unsolved case, the process of this matter was full of doubts. They also wanted to know why the real murderer was exposed so quickly. Why did their task force take every step at the beginning to catch the simulated murderer, but in the end, they caught the real murderer of the unsolved case? How about, check the past video footage of Officer Duan? Cui Liwan suggested. Things don't seem to be right. Detecting. Ding. Has been checked and is playing for you. Soon, the video footage of Zhao Xiaoya on the big screen was replaced by the video footage of Duanyu, and when these video recordings were played, Wang Yanqing in the expert group raised his eyebrows at the first time, asked a question without a beginning or an end. Mr. Cui, there are black-clad staff behind our live show of chasing murderers, right? Of course, they are mainly responsible for handling the events that happen in the show. Cui Li nodded and looked at Wang Yanqing with some doubts. Why do you ask this question? That the latter's eyes were fixed on a palm-sized screen in an inconspicuous corner of the big screen. His eyes gradually became sharp. On it, Duanyu was being taken away by several black-clad men. The pixels of the surveillance were not good, and these black-clad men almost blended into the night. Everyone. Wang Yanqing said lightly. If I'm not mistaken, Officer Duan should have been eliminated at 12 o'clock for some unknown reason. And the call we received from Duanyu about the murderer's finger identification results seemed to be at 12:05. Chapter 55. Is there a traitor in the expert group? Check Su Chen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 55. Is there a mole in the expert team? Check out Su Chen. Duanyu was eliminated. As soon as this statement came out, everyone was confused. Qin Ming was the first to react and immediately said to the Skynet system. Enlarge the 3 rows and 6 columns of the surveillance screen. Executed. The surveillance footage from the front yard of the Jinling City Public Security Bureau branch instantly filled the entire screen. The members of the expert team were already looking intently at Duanyu's figure above. At first, he ran towards the car in a panic, as if he had encountered some serious emergency and discovered important information. While running, he took out his mobile phone and dialed the number in a hurry. He pressed the wrong number several times, which showed that his mentality was very unstable at that time. Then, Duan Yu opened the car door and got in. Within 10 seconds, a man in black brought Duan Yu out and announced that it was done. At this time, the jumping time in the upper right corner of the monitoring screen shows 12 minutes and 22 seconds. Chui Liwan hurriedly took out his mobile phone and checked the call records. The time he received Duan Yu's call was 12:05:4 moment. Everyone present had goosebumps all over their bodies, and felt a faint cool breeze pouring into their backs. Outside the window of the expert team's office, in the 1 o'clock night, there seemed to be a pair of eyes peeking at everything here in the dark. The caller is not Duan Yu. Who else could it be? At that time, Duan Yu was in a panic. What was the news he really wanted to tell them? Quick, move the monitoring time forward. Chui Liwan hurriedly said to the Skynet system. Duan Yu was killed in the car. The murderer must have got in the car before him. In operation, the surveillance screen quickly rewinds. Stop. Wang Yanqing stared at the screen and spoke immediately. The murderer only appeared in a few frames during the whole process, but he was still keenly captured by him. Play, capture the face, pause, and zoom in. Wang Yanqing said, executing. Then, a huge image appeared on the big screen. This picture is exactly the face image captured by the Skynet system through face recognition technology. The pixels of the picture are not high, but fortunately, this negligent murderer actually missed his face once, allowing everyone to see clearly. That was Wang Yanqing's face, exactly the same. What? Wang Yanqing was stunned on the spot at that time. The other members of the expert panel were also confused. Oh, Lao Wang, you thick eyebrows and big eyes. Qin Ming, who was standing next to Wang Yanqing, trembled and immediately took a few steps back to distance himself from the former. Explain yourself, what did you do when you disappeared? Several other experts also looked at Wang Yanqing with some vigilance for a moment. They always remember the official words when the program was launched. The murderer could be anyone. Could it be said that Wang Yanqing is really the infernal affairs? No wonder the initial surprise inquiry of phrase did not yield any results, because at that time there was no consideration of the insider on the expert team, so there was no inquiry of the experts at all. I'm doing a trace investigation. Faced with everyone's questions, Wang Yanqing felt like he couldn't answer any questions. He never expected that the surveillance picture would turn out like this. The murderer must have disguised himself and dressed up like himself. However, I have been doing things in private these few hours, and there is no way to give an alibi. Is this a threat from the murderer? Other police officers in the expert team's office, as well as staff from the power distribution center, cheered up instantly when they saw this incident. Any melons? There is actually a mole among the experts. Should this show be so exciting? Listen to me, this matter needs further discussion to come up with a result, and no violent comments can be made. Wang Yanqing, who was not very good at expressing himself, said helplessly. Of course we know this. Qin Ming stared at his every move and put the recorder on the table. Before discussing, let me explain that you have the right to remain silent. Once you speak, everything you say may be used as evidence in court. Wang Yanqing, etc. While he was anxious, an idea suddenly flashed through Wang Yanqing's mind. He knew that the murderer who was chasing the live broadcast this time was very smart, therefore, the other party will definitely not choose anyone randomly to frame the blame. He will definitely choose the person who is easiest to frame the blame for successfully, for example, myself, because I was not on the expert panel for the past few hours and could not prove my innocence. So, how did the murderer get this information? Wang Yanqing was deep in thought, suddenly raised his head and looked at the expert team members in front of him. Guys, I have a question. Before this, has anyone asked you about my whereabouts? Has anyone taken the initiative to mention me? As soon as these words came out, other members of the expert team immediately noticed Wang Yanqing's intentions. He is looking for someone who might frame him. Qin Ming and Bai Su thought about it carefully and shook their heads, indicating that there was no such thing, but Mr. Chui Liwan, holding his chin, fell into memories. Thinking of the things before the arrest of the real murderer, suddenly, his expression froze and he said, I remember that Su Chen talked to me about this matter before, but at that time, I just thought it was just a casual chat. Su Chen, the other members of the expert group came back to their senses at this time and realized it again. Su Chen seemed to have been absent from a certain period of time until now. He was contacted, but there was no response. Wang Yanqing's heart moved, and he immediately turned his head and said to the Skynet system. Skynet, query Su Chen's facial information and play his activity trajectory in the past few hours. Chapter 56 Sneak Attack, Su Chen Exposed. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Chapter 56, Sneak Attack, Su Chen Exposed. Investigate Su Chen. When the other experts in the expert group office heard Wang Yanqing say this, they looked at each other in surprise. Then investigate, but I guess you won't find anything. Qin Ming shrugged and turned his eyes back to his notebook. He was not very interested in the video of Su Chen, a little police officer. Instead, he was fascinated by the reasoning method of the simulated murderer to deduce the location of the last piece of bones. It is estimated that Duan Yu is also studying the hacker's attack technology in depth, otherwise why has he not been seen for so long? I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. After Duan Yu found his opponent from the murderer group. Qin Ming also felt that he had found his opponent, that is, the mysterious reasoning expert who deduced the location of the bones, and the police officers waiting on the side also looked down and shook their heads slightly. As a member of the expert group, Wang Yanqing's decisions cannot be interfered with by ordinary police officers. However, in their hearts, these people have given Su Chen a high evaluation. In terms of the police force selected by the experts, Su Chen is the most outstanding one, and his contributions are seen by the police officers. Su Chen, a good man. Su Chen is actually a capable guy. He paid for the barbecue tonight in advance. Zhao Long whispered to Wang Ping beside him, his words full of trust. Wang Ping also nodded and said, Su Chen is fine. He stayed with us all night that day. He just went to the toilet in the middle. How could he have time to commit a crime? It can be said that among the police officers, anyone who is pulled out is more suspicious than Su Chen. Wang Ping would rather believe that the dismemberment case was reconstructed by himself when he was sleepwalking than that it was done by Su Chen. Besides, isn't the other side a gang, and there are people with special skills in it? Normal people who want to be murderers may not have the ability to do it. For a moment, everyone had different expressions, but Wang Yanqing remained firm and said to Skynet. Check. Entering Su Chen's facial information, the electronic sound of AI suddenly sounded. However, immediately afterwards, it seemed that the word Su Chen, face, and enter triggered some special voice keywords. The inside of the black box that was brought back by the police and placed on the table suddenly made an extremely subtle beep sound. The moment he heard this sound, Cui Liwan's face changed suddenly. The conditioned reflex brought by countless trainings made his body react one step ahead of his brain. Back off. Mr. Cui rushed forward, stretched out his hand to hold the box under his body, and then pressed it to the floor with his whole body. Then, the frontline detectives around him also reacted, picked up the riot shields at hand, and then surrounded them layer by layer. All this was done without any thinking, and was completely a subconscious reaction. At the same time, there was a slight explosion from the black box, and a puff of smoke was sprayed out. Finally, it fell silent. Seeing this scene, the pupils of the other experts all shrank. Mr. Cui. Qin Ming was stunned for a moment, and then he rushed over in an instant, trying to pull up Cui Liwan who had fallen to the ground. However, he was rejected by the latter. This sudden change scared the barrage. What the hell, what happened? Is there a dangerous item in the box? Mr. Cui reacted really fast, faster than the strong men around him, and he didn't look like an old man at all. I understand, this is a voice-controlled device. Once the expert team wants to check Su Chen, it will stimulate the receiver inside. Then what's inside is probably. Let's see what the situation is. Don't get close first. Looking at the staff of the program group rushing out of the door, Cui Liwan's voice seemed a little weak. He knew that this time, he was definitely hit. As expected, the leading black-clad man pulled Cui Liwan up and opened the box that had been opened from the inside. Inside, a small voice-controlled detonator was exposed. In addition, there was a box full of solid explosives, raw materials. Yes, explosive raw materials. These things, as long as they are mixed in a certain proportion, it is a real explosive, but Su Chen did not do this. The various raw materials in the box were separated in sealed bags. This was done just to tell the experts that he was fully capable of making a real bomb. The method is almost exactly the same. It's really him. Mr. Chui Liwan was speechless, and the shock on his face could not be recovered for a long time. At this moment, he was extremely sure that Su Chen was definitely the murderer who blew up the distribution center. Mr. Chui, I'm sorry. After seeing the scene in the box, the leading black-clad man was also slightly startled and worried about the show, he said solemnly to Chui Liwan and several police officers around him. According to the program team's judgment, you are now dead. You can go backstage with us now. We will leave your simulated corpse for reference. Hearing this, Mr. Chui Liwan stood there for a moment, then, he suddenly smiled and sighed deeply. According to the rules, any unknown male sent to the police station must be checked for danger. I am really old and forgetful. Then, he turned to Qin Ming and others behind him. Remember the lesson this time. If you deal with dangerous criminals, you will lose your life if you are careless. That look really looks like a retired senior giving his final instructions. For some reason, Qin Ming and others felt their noses sour inexplicably. According to the scale of the bomb prepared by Su Chen, it can be seen at a glance that he is aiming to wipe out the entire expert team and Skynet equipment at once. If it weren't for Mr. Chui's quick reaction, he and the police officers blocked the bomb with their bodies. Then now, I'm afraid that everyone in this room would be eliminated by the bomb attack. The expert team was killed by the murderer. This kind of thing is unheard of in the entire criminal investigation community. What they didn't know was that when Chui Liwan heard the sound of the detonator, his brain didn't have time to think that this should be a simulated bomb. He just subconsciously did what he should do. The confusion after being pulled up was also his true reaction after seeing that the bomb didn't explode. If this is the real situation, then the old senior who was still chatting and laughing with everyone in the last second might have become a corpse at this time. This is also what the frontline criminal police of Chui Liwan's generation often face. There were no extra words. Chui Liwan and his 5 police officers saluted the rest of the people, then they were taken down to the office by the man in black. There was only an empty box and a ridiculous simulated corpse left on the ground. However, the expert team and the surrounding police officers stared at the lifeless dummy on the ground for a long time. The experts' faces are not good. Even the barrage was a little cautious. To be honest, although this is a simulation, it is completely in line with reality. In fact, the casualty rate of frontline criminal police is very high. Did they recall something in the past? It was too sudden, too sudden. My father is also a criminal policeman. There was really a time when a colleague who was still chatting and laughing in the last second died in the next second. It was a real farewell in the program. No one would feel good about it. At the same time, the electronic sound of Skynet finally gave an answer. After face recognition, Su Chen has appeared in the camera more recently, so there is a delay. All information has been exported. Then, scenes of Su Chen's camera were projected onto the big screen, and the sharp eyes of the experts and police officers were instantly focused at this moment. On the screen, the scenes that appeared in sequence were the way to the Public Security Bureau, the inside of the Public Security Bureau, the Power Distribution Center, Su Chen's office, and the surrounding area of Jinling University. The densely packed windows made everyone stunned. How come Su Chen has been to every place where an incident occurred? Soon, the screen began to play. The first screen was the street surveillance of Su Chen going to the Jinling Public Security Bureau. Su Chen first knocked out the staff in the car, then took off the others' clothes and put them on himself. Expert team. Qin Ming looked at the screen in front of him and felt his temples throbbing. Quick, go check the trunk of Su Chen's car parked downstairs. That he held the walkie-talkie and shouted to the police officers downstairs. Chapter 57 The Guy in the Trunk. The Dumbfounded Expert Team. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 57, The Little Brother in the Trunk. Stunned Expert Panel. Received. 6, 9, S, H, U, X, dot. C, O, M, In the front yard on the first floor of the Jinling City Public Security Bureau headquarters, two police officers put away their walkie-talkies and walked toward Su Chen's parked car. Hasn't Su Chen's car been parked here since it came back in the middle of the night? Why, is there anything good in it? A police officer joked to his companion. These police officers have been on standby downstairs since they first sent Su Chen's box up. Whatever, Su Chen has already driven away in that new car, maybe he forgot the information in the trunk. The companion shrugged, yawned, took out the key Su Chen gave him, and inserted it into the keyhole of the trunk. Speaking of it, I'm really sleepy in the middle of the night. Don't even the experts on the expert team need to sleep. Damn it. Halfway through his words, the police officer suddenly let out a scream, because, the moment he opened the trunk, I saw a young man who had been stripped down to his underwear and vest, lying in the trunk, wanting to cry without tears. At this moment, when I saw the police except Su Chen, my nose felt sore and tears fell down my face. He desperately grabbed the sleeves of the two policemen and couldn't shake them off. It's a pity that I'm a dead person and can't talk much now. Otherwise, do you know how I spent these 5 hours? When the two police officers saw this scene, they felt that their brains were almost overloaded. Who stuffed a big living person into Su Chen's trunk? Damn it, no, this is what Su Chen did. Well, they just gave Su Chen a car with a full tank of gas and said goodbye to him cordially. Isn't this just letting the tiger return to the mountain? What's in the trunk? Qin Ming's voice came again from the intercom. Officer Qin, it's a person. Ah no, a corpse. Point two police officers responded with walkie-talkies and trembling voices. Boom. Although it is almost certain, however, when they heard the news was confirmed, everyone in the expert team felt a thunder in their heads. In other words, Su Chen, from the very beginning of the show, played a civet cat for a prince and sneaked into the expert panel. Wang Yanqing murmured, with a pair of eagle eyes that was rarely dizzy. Su Chen. Bai Su stood aside, his eyes almost fixed on Su Chen's face on the big screen. She folded her arms across her chest, biting her lower lip until it turned a little white. There was both shock and intense exploration in her eyes. Su Chen, you really gave me a big surprise. Bai Su thought to himself. Beside her, Zhao Long and Wang Ping were already shocked by the news. The two stood in embarrassment, like a resentful woman who had been let down. After these few hours of getting along, they had already regarded Su Chen as a brother and a beloved relative. Damn it, Su Chen, please pay for the feelings of my two brothers. The barrage also exploded at this moment. Ha ha ha, I laugh every time I watch this scene of changing people. Looking at it this way, the expert team is really miserable. They were deceived all night, and only now do they know the truth. I feel like steam is coming out of Officer Qin's head. Really, it's reddening visibly to the naked eye. Brothers Zhao Long are really miserable. They almost fell in love with Su Chen on the spot when they were having barbecue. But when the show is over, their relationship will definitely be very good. Officer Bai is the best disciple from a famous teacher. The screen continues to play. The next scene shows Su Chen preparing liquid explosives in a simple laboratory. Murder Live, backstage studio, old detective Cui Liwan and internet police officer Duan Yu sat side by side, with identical expressions, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. It turned out that they had previously speculated that liquid bombs could only be configured in professional chemical laboratories. Su Chen was actually made by hand from a small shabby laboratory. Is he really from Earth? Cui Liwan drank twice as much hot tea in a row, feeling relieved, and said with a weathered face. Today's young people are so versatile. In the live broadcast room, the barrage was refreshing like crazy. Oh, I'm sorry, I've embarrassed the young man. Human evolution has not brought me with it. Let's talk about it. Is it possible that Su Chen is the only one secretly evolving among all humans? Jaimais, who can resist a man with explosives in his hands? However, the next scene is a classic among classics, one of the famous criminal investigation scenes in the 21st century, Su Chen and Duan Yu's information warfare. Before this scene was played, Duan Yu had already found a place under the table and got in with great foresight. Xiao Duan, come out. This is not a big deal. It's not ridiculous. Cui Liwan glanced at Duan Yu, who was furiously typing on the keyboard on the big screen, and quickly used the cold-faced skill he had learned as a police officer for more than 30 years. I keep telling myself that I am a senior and I have received professional training. No matter how funny it is, I will never laugh. Duan Yu was wrapped in a blanket and did not look at the big screen. Mr. Cui, please tell me, how many people are watching the live broadcast now? Cui Liwan glanced at the number of people online in the lower right corner of the screen. 99 million, it will be 100 million soon. Duan Yu, this is a dream, this must be a dream, I really want to disappear in this world. Cui Liwan patted him on the shoulder. Don't lose heart, poof. Duan Yu? Mr. Cui, I seem to have heard a strange sound. Didn't you hold back your laughter just now? Cui Liwan said with a sullen face, no. Poof. Duan Yu, you obviously never stopped. The audience laughed unkindly. Officer Duan, don't worry, we will never tell anyone about it. This is a secret shared by 100 million of us. Yes, Officer Duan, I will keep this secret of yours for the rest of my life. Ah no, it will be rotten in my heart. Officer Duan, don't worry, our 100 million people have a very tight air outlet. Ha 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 ha, sorry, Officer Duan, I know you are the second best in the world and you are better than most people, but, ha 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 ha. And with this, one incident after another about Su Chen was exposed. The truth about the investigation of the top 10 unsolved cases in the Dragon Kingdom that really touches people's hearts has now surfaced. At this moment, bite. The official Dragon Kingdom bounty list enters the live broadcast room. Bite. Dragon Kingdom detective list officially enters the live broadcast room. Chapter 58. The detective's bounty list is double-listed and world-famous. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Chapter 58. The two lists of detective bounties are world-famous. These two prompts, with the advanced special effects provided by the Dragon Country official, passed through the entire live broadcast room. Taiwan Novel Network. Instantly, the other bullet comments were silent for a few seconds. Dragon Country detective list, Dragon Country bounty list. One represents the most vicious bounty-wanted criminals in the entire Dragon Country, and the other represents the most prestigious hunting masters in the entire Dragon Country. Generally speaking, it is already extraordinary to see these two lists appeared in one person's live broadcast room at the same time, which is an unprecedented precedent. Not only ordinary viewers, but even those old criminal detectives working in the police station couldn't help but marvel. Then, before everyone could react, the officials of these two lists sent bullet comments to congratulations, to Su Chen. After the official reward platform and the live program team jointly discussed and decided that the simulation of the dismemberment case was effective, you were listed as a red wanted criminal and ranked third on the Dragon Country reward list. The results of this list are only valid in the live program. Congratulations to Su Chen. After the Detective Association decided that you have made a significant contribution to solving the top 10 unsolved cases, you are ranked 10th on the Dragon Country detective list. The results of this list are valid for life. As soon as this news came out, all the viewers in front of the screen, even several people in the expert group, were stunned. Su Chen was on both lists at the same time. That's right, if Su Chen is the murderer of Duan Yu, then the information about the real murderer of the dismemberment case that we arrested was what he told us. In the office of the expert group, Qin Ming felt that things were finally clear and there was no more fog. The person who was behind all this was Su Chen. It was Su Chen who borrowed our knife and learned about the case. After these words came out, all the police officers present fell silent. They were basically criminal police officers of the Jinling Public Security Bureau and had worked under the same roof with Su Chen for several years. I didn't expect that my colleague who I often greeted on weekdays was so meticulous and could use a group of experts as his pawns to solve the unsolved case. That feeling was like a scene in a movie. That I won't pretend anymore, I'm going to show my cards. However, being a colleague with Su Chen, I'm afraid it will be a thing of the past. With Su Chen's current performance, after the live broadcast of the murderer is over, he will definitely be arranged to work in the senior public security department, he will even be valued by the big guys and become the top expert. It's different from the solemn atmosphere in the expert group office. In the live broadcast room, after a moment of depression, the barrage exploded instantly. Awesome, even if it's a bounty list, only extremely vicious people can get on it. Most people don't have the ability and courage. There are only a few people who can make it to either of these two lists, but Su Chen is on both lists at the same time, ha ha ha. Brothers, seriously, I suddenly thought of something. If Su Chen sends himself to the police station, does he count as surrendering himself or being arrested? Your brain circuit above is also a talent. At the same time, Su Chen's solution to the 20-year-old unsolved case in Longhua is also constantly triggering chemical reactions around the world. Jinling City, North Railway Station, the originally orderly hall was now in chaos. A big man in his 50s or 60s, holding a white fruit knife in his hand, stumbled towards the crowd. And behind him, there were 3 criminal investigation police chasing him. Oh no! The target is carrying a knife. Seeing the white blade in the big man's hand, the leading policeman's face changed. This man is very dangerous. He is another murderer confessed by the mastermind of the Jinling University corpse dismemberment case in the interrogation room, that is, an accomplice. He was born as a butcher, with big shoulders and waist. Although he is over 50 years old, he is still difficult to deal with, especially as a murderer. The risk factor increases exponentially. This ceramic knife is the murder weapon that this man has been hiding on his body for a long time. Because it is made of ceramic material, it can avoid metal detectors and X-rays. Who? She, how could she tell me? The prisoner was panting, and his small eyes revealed an extremely cruel look. Bar Book 69 knew that he looked at the crowd and saw a panicked girl in an instant. Then he turned around and ran straight towards her. The murderer had already brought a tyrannical temperament, and his eyes were extremely cold after killing people. The moment the girl looked at him, her face turned pale, and she stood there motionless, unable to move. The 2 police officers who were chasing the murderer noticed his intention, and their faces changed instantly. Hostage. This murderer who has been on the run for many years is extremely difficult to deal with. Once he holds a hostage, the situation at the scene will turn into an unprecedented crisis. There is even the possibility of casualties. In such a crowded place, it is not convenient for them to shoot and kill, because the bullets are likely to hurt the crowd. The hands of several police officers immediately reached for the electric shock guns on their waists. However, it was too late. The murderer's knife was almost on the girl's neck. The butcher's face showed a sly smile of success, and everyone was almost in despair. Suddenly, the girl was lifted from behind by a pair of big hands, and her body was immediately pulled back from the murderer and fell to the ground. The murderer's smile froze. At this time, people noticed that behind the girl, a middle-aged man appeared, tall and thick, with a sinewy face, wearing a dirty leather jacket. After leaving the girl behind, the middle-aged man actually grinned at the murderer in front of him, showing his smoky teeth. Veins suddenly popped out on the murderer's forehead. The next second, the ceramic knife in his hand had been swung to the middle-aged man's chin. However, what he didn't expect was that the other party's reaction was surprisingly fast. The middle-aged man did not choose to avoid the blade. Instead, he opened his mouth between the flashes of lightning and bit the swung ceramic knife horizontally with his teeth, preventing it from moving forward even half a minute. At the same time, his big feet wearing old leather shoes rose up from the ground and kicked the murderer in the stomach. There were a large number of nerve bundles there. This unexpected but powerful kick made the murderer turn pale and fall to the ground twitching. All this happened in less than a second, so fast that the people around him didn't even react. Several police officers who were chasing him caught up to him and instantly pinned the criminal down, stripped him clean, and handcuffed him in a very tricky way. After finishing all this, the leading police officer breathed a sigh of relief, stretched out his hand to the middle-aged man standing leisurely in front of him, and smiled gratefully. "This big brother, thank you, what do you call me?" "Who?" The middle-aged man spat out the knife in his mouth and stamped his foot to break the ceramic blade. Then he stretched out his hand to hold the police officer's hand. "Just call me Shi Yong. You want to take this guy to the Jinling Public Security Bureau, right? It just so happens that I'm on the way too." When they heard the other party's name, the police officers were stunned, and then said in surprise. "Brother, you are the new member of the pursuit team of the Murder Live program. Just follow us into the police car. We will return to the team and go back to the headquarters." The leading police officer made a gesture of invitation, then, while several police officers were talking, they escorted the suspect, who was locked and unable to move, toward the exit of the train station. Shi Yong, on the other hand, asked the leading detective for a cigarette, took out a lighter with a little oil left, lit it, and followed slowly. Originally, smoking was not allowed in the hall, but at this moment, no one cared about him. Shi Yong took out his mobile phone as he walked. On the screen, there happened to be Su Chen's message. Double list of detectives and bounties. TSK, young people today are so damn interesting. Across the ocean, in the land of parrots, home studio, this is a retro European-style house, filled with displays from the last century, which are incompatible with the fashionable modernity. In front of the fireplace, a young man wearing a black suit and a bowler hat sat on the sofa. He unscrewed the silver-headed blackwood cane in his hand and pulled out an antenna. A burst of radio sound immediately came from the handle of the cane. What was reported above was Su Chen's deeds. "Mr. Holmes, I did not remember that you had a radio hidden in your cane." In front of Holmes, a blond man in a khaki suit looked confused. Holmes on the sofa just smiled when he heard this. Under his brown curly hair, a pair of bright eyes revealed a cunning light. "Oh, my dear Watson, there can be anything in a gentleman's walking stick." Chapter 59. Last time, it was my negligence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 59. Last time, it was my negligence. Okay, Watson shrugged and poured himself a cup of black tea using a silver teapot. He leaned against the fireplace and looked at the top 10 detective in the world. "I don't understand why this young man from the Dragon Kingdom named Su Chen interests you so much. Is he more important than Margaret's jewels that have been stolen right now? I think you have not forgotten Her Majesty's commission." "Of course I have not forgotten that nothing can match the dignified and elegant face of Her Majesty Isa 4 better than this jewel." Holmes stood up from the sofa and reached for his coat. "It's just that I will also pay attention to those flames that have not yet matured. Who knows whether it will ignite a raging fire?" "I'm right, Watson." Watson moved away from Holmes and shrugged noncommittally. "I guess you're right. I think we can pay attention to this person." Holmes walked out of the door and turned around and said, "I don't know whether this flickering flame will be extinguished in the Dragon Kingdom or somewhere in Asia, or whether it will burn all the way to the Parrot Kingdom. When that time comes, I will be happy to accept Her Majesty's commission to capture him. The premise is that he must be able to burn it here." Watson responded in a muffled voice, then drank all the tea in the cup and walked out of the house. Jinling International Airport. A flight slowly entered the terminal interface. The cold wind blew in from the night sky at 1 o'clock in the morning, causing people who had just got off the plane to wrap their coats tightly. The 1.5-meter-tall Karita Yusuji dragged a heavy suitcase out of the airport. She stretched out her hand, took out a large mobile phone from her floating clothes, and stared at it. What is shown above is the new ranking of the Asian detective list. There are several lines of large characters displayed on the beige detective list. Yusuji Caritas, Sakura Country 30th overall. Su Chen, newly promoted to Dragon Kingdom, ranked 29th overall. Su Chen, as the 10th on the Dragon Kingdom detective list, was included in the top 30 on the Asian detective list, and I was pushed to the edge by this newcomer. She just slept on the plane, and when she woke up, Su Chen actually solved such a big case. What luck. Lucky you. Su Chen. Yusuji Mingai put away her phone and gritted her teeth. I will definitely catch you. Too many things happened this night. People were so excited that they couldn't sleep for a long time. Su Chen drove to the edge of Jinling City and the border with Baijin City. He did not stay in a hotel because the expert team was now operating very tightly because all hotels in Jinling City were forced to enter their identities. Once his identity is entered, he will be hunted down by a team of experts. After all, his current identity in the murderous live broadcast is that he attacked the power distribution center. Committed the Jinling University corpse dismemberment case, and killed 2 police officers and an innocent passerby. He was listed in the top 3 on the Dragon Kingdom's bounty list. Wanted criminal. This long list of names is quite explosive no matter where it is placed. Even if he goes to jail, he will act like a big brother, but he probably won't live long. He parked the car in a remote place and slept in the car for one night. He did not pay attention to the shock caused by his solving the case in the world. I am so tired that I can only cope with the rest of my escape life if I have a good rest. While closing his eyes, Su Chen turned on the radio, a device that receives information that is difficult to locate. Listen to the reports inside. Everyone, here's the evening emergency news, which will be repeated in the morning. The corpse dismemberment case at Jinling University 20 years ago was solved and both suspects were arrested, which means that this unsolved case that has troubled the police for many years has finally come to an end. The murderer confessed to the crime. The facts were clear and the evidence was sufficient. After the Jinling City Court ruled, the suspects Zhao and Du were sentenced to death and executed immediately. The reward level for the murderer of the Murder Live broadcast program has been increased. The program team said that more efforts will be invested in the hunt. In addition, after confirmation by the director team, a certain staff member of the program made a huge contribution during the program. In order to compensate for his hard work, a special cash reward of 30,000 yuan was given. The traces of Su Chen have disappeared now. Where is he? Just listen to some news. The tired Su Chen fell into a deep sleep. In his dream, he only heard a vague roar of an animal, but he was not awakened. At the same time, Jinling City Public Security Bureau, detention area, injection chamber, cold white light shines on the wall, on the iron chair, and on the man tied to the iron chair. The butcher, who was in his 50s, had his hands and feet bound at the moment, unable to move. In front of him, a lethal injection doctor wearing a white coat and a mask was adjusting the slender needle in his hand. Slowly draw a tube of medicine into the syringe. No. 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 Please, please. The butcher struggled with all his strength, but there was no trace of blood on his face. At this moment, he was completely different from the brutal murderer, more like an embarrassed dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy. His huge body twisted violently, but under the restraints, he couldn't move an inch. The doctor who performed the procedure did not say a single word, and even his expression could not be seen under the mask. He ignored the man's wailing, pierced the needle in his hand into his skin, and then slowly pushed in the tube of medicine. He also patiently stopped the bleeding of the wound. No, I don't want to die, I don't want to. The man's body was twitching with intense fear. He suddenly turned his head and looked at Zhao Xiaoya, his eyes bursting with sorrow and resentment. It's you, it's all your fault. It was you who turned me into this. You are the one who deserves the most damn. Why should I die first? I should watch you die first. Gradually, the man's struggle became weaker and weaker. The pupils also gradually dilated. Zhao Xiaoya was sitting in the injection room, on the chair opposite the butcher, and was similarly restrained. However, she didn't struggle. A face that was still beautiful became whiter and fairer under the light. She was wearing a white dress, her black hair was disheveled, and her eyes were calm and playful as she looked at the butcher who was praying desperately, watching his life go by little by little. Not a word was said in reply to his final accusation. Soon the butcher stopped moving. The doctor who performed the procedure turned to Zhao Xiaoya again, still picked up the needle and drew out the medicine. Zhao Xiaoya looked at him calmly. After trying the medicine, the executive doctor put the needle in front of her and suddenly spoke coldly. Little girl, I'm so sorry. The doctor's voice was not as young as she imagined, but slightly older and hoarse also. Generally speaking, this kind of thing is done by old doctors. Young people don't have much experience and their hearts are too fragile. Zhao Xiaoya shook his hair and said to the doctor in a boring tone. It doesn't matter, I deserve it. You finish it quickly. As she said this, she closed her eyes. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no feeling of needle piercing my arm. Was she tied up for too long and lost consciousness? Zhao Xiaoya thought doubtfully. Suddenly, she felt a forehand touching her cheek. His fingertips traced his jawline. Zhao Xiaoya opened his eyes in shock and stared at the face hidden under the mask. the doctor's fingers gently pinched her small chin and raised her head bit by bit, exposing the white neck underneath. No. That's not what I meant. The doctor stared at the shocking scar on her neck, his eyes blurred, and said in a slightly hoarse voice. Little girl, I mean. I didn't do it well last time. This was my negligence. I'm sorry you survived. This time, I won't make any mistakes and will satisfy you. The doctor raised his other latex-gloved hand. What he held in his hand was a sharp lancet. Brothers, the first volume of Jinling Broken Corpses is over, starting volume 2 now. Platinum. Chapter 60 What the Murderer Did. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 60, What the Murderer Did. That night, after Su Chen's identity was exposed, the climax of the entire program gradually came to an end. However, the excited netizens reluctantly held their phones in their hands, their hearts beating faster, and they couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Compared with the previous 2 seasons of live broadcasts, the excitement of this season has far exceeded their imagination. It's really like a dream. The Jinling University corpse case was solved just like that. When I first watched the variety show, I didn't expect such an unexpected gain. The case Su Chen worked on in the show also has important practical significance. Anyway, the power distribution stations and other facilities near my home are stepping up safety inspections. Now that Su Chen has eliminated 2 experts, how should the subsequent program team respond? I think we need to increase our manpower. Otherwise, it may be difficult for the expert team to catch Su Chen. Su Chen's bounty quota has increased. It stands to reason that he will also receive attention from all parties, but he doesn't know that those big guys will show up. That night, in every corner of the internet, in various forums, video websites, etc., there were many people who could not calm down and were talking passionately. Many bloggers also gave their own guesses. This kind of participation and love from the whole people is even far better than the New Year's Eve party of Longwei in recent years. Some netizens, even if they couldn't bear it and fell asleep, would hang up on their mobile phones just so that they could see Su Chen's latest news when they woke up in the morning. The number of people in the live broadcast room of Chasing the Murderer has already exceeded 100 million. There are 100 million online viewers, which is unprecedented during non-holidays. Even the Dragon Kingdom Gala's peak of 150 million online viewers can only be reached during specific holidays when everyone has free time. On a normal working day, 100 million views is an insurmountable ceiling for any program. Unless everyone stops working and just watches the live broadcast, this number will rise again. Under the official media account of the Murder Live program group, 80 million new comments have been added in just the past 2 hours. This is more than just a book written with the blood of thousands of people. 6 of the top 10 hot searches on major platforms such as Bib and Douyin are discussions about the live broadcast of Chasing a Murderer, and these discussions are all focused on one person, Su Chen. Everyone wants to know, how can he escape now that his identity has been exposed? And facing such a powerful opponent, what kind of response will the program team have? Go abroad, Su Chen. Run overseas, far away. Why don't you hide on a desert island and act out Su Ye's wilderness survival? I heard that the bugs there are very nutritious and have 3 times the protein of beef. Is there any news? Why haven't the program team updated the announcement yet? I'm waiting to die. At the same time, no one was sleeping inside the Jinling City Public Security Bureau, and there was a lot of chaos. In the injection room, blood spattered the walls, and even the incandescent lamp on the ceiling was splashed with more than half of the blood, giving off a faint red light. The forensic doctors at the scene gathered around the 2 bodies and hurriedly took notes. Director, only the male prisoner was killed by injection. The female prisoner suffered blunt force injuries, shattered the soft tissue of her throat, and died of excessive blood loss. In front of the door of the injection room, a police officer introduced the situation at the scene to Director Guo in a low voice. Director Guo frowned, and after a long while, he said hoarsely. With so many people guarding the death row inside and outside, how did the murderer in this case come and go so freely? When this question was asked, there was silence for a while. The police officers around Director Guo looked at each other, but no one could tell the answer. Director, the murderer this time is our internal executive doctor, and he is a veteran doctor. We are all acquaintances and we don't pay much attention. When the crime happened, he went in and stayed alone for less than a minute, then walked out and left with an excuse. One of the police officers said something. Before he could finish speaking, he was rudely interrupted by the director waving his hand. What I'm asking is, when did our execution procedures become like this? Why didn't the surveillance respond when this person was committing crimes inside? Director Gua, who had always been kind, now looked a little ferocious, with suppressed anger in his voice. Why did the people around him wait until he committed the crime and left calmly before they realized something was wrong? Several police officers were speechless for a moment. Director Gua. Luo Ming separated from the crowd and walked out. His face was still as expressionless as a poker card. The murderer replaced the surveillance picture with a dynamic picture of him preparing equipment in the injection room in advance, briefly deceiving the people in the surveillance room. Luo Ming said. This murderer has been lurking in the police station for nearly 20 years. I just reviewed his file information and found that it is all fake. Director Guo was stunned. He felt a gust of cold wind blowing up his back and got goosebumps on his skin. What kind of person can avoid the most stringent censorship mechanism in the world in an institution like the police department? For a long time, Director Guo murmured. How is this possible? Police station information is reviewed 3 times a year. How did he do it? Luo Ming's eyes darkened. The only possibility I can think of is that there is more than one person. Lao Luo. After saying this, Director Guo's pupils shrank suddenly, as if he had touched upon something obscure. He quickly took Luo Ming to another place alone and whispered. Old Luo, you can't talk nonsense. This matter has not been confirmed yet. It's just a guess.